Commander Steele.
Yes.
Would you be so kind to tell us about this
multilingual simultaneous interpreting system?
Thank you. How the system works?
Surely, it's very simple. On the witness stand is the defendant Yodel, who signed the surrender terms at Reims. He speaks German. His words go directly to the earphones of the interpreters. This gentleman interprets while Yodel is speaking into French. At the same time, this lady does it into Russian, and this lady into German. Their interpretations, with Yodel's German, go to every seat in the courtroom. And the speaker, who may use any of the 4 court languages, may use any microphone. Here's one microphone.
Commander Steele.
Yes.
Would you be so kind to tell us about this
multilingual simultaneous interpreting system?
Thank you. How this system works?
Surely, it's very simple. On the witness stand, the defendant Yodel, who signed the German surrender Reims, speaks German. His voice goes directly to the earphones of the interpreters. This gentleman, while Yodel is speaking, interprets his words into French. At the same time, this lady does it into Russian, and this lady into English. Now, their interpretations, with Yodel's German, are carried to all the seats in the courtroom. And the speaker, who may speak in any of the 4 court languages, can speak from any microphone. One here is for the lawyers, and here are the ones for the judges. There's no particular limit to the number of microphones. And so with this system, no matter who is speaking, no matter where you are sitting, you can follow the proceedings of the tribunal in any of the 4 court languages. And it is thanks and Colonel Duster, who was obtained by Justice Jackson and General Gill, hired the
Okay, go ahead. Okay. Hold it. Commander Steele.
Yes.
Would you be so kind to tell us about this
multilingual simultaneous interpreting system?
Thank you. How the system works?
Surely, it's very simple. On the witness stand, the defendant Yodel, who signed the German surrender at Reims, speaks in German. His words are carried directly to the earphones of the interpreters. This gentleman, while Yodel is speaking, interprets his words into French. At the same time, this lady interprets into Russian, and this lady into English. Their interpretations, with Yodel's German, are carried directly to every seat in the courtroom. And the speaker, who may speak in any of the 4 court languages, may speak from any microphone. One here is for the lawyers, and here are the ones for the judges. There's no particular limit to the number of microphones. And so with this system, no matter where you are sitting, or no matter who is speaking, you can follow the proceedings of the court in any of the 4 court languages. Colonel Duster, who hired and trained the interpreters, was obtained through the foresight of Justice Jackson and General Gill, and it is thanks to them that this system is in use in the court.
Thank you.
Don't mention it.
Will you be so kind and tell us about this
A multilingual, simultaneous interpreting system.
Thank you. And then one for the lawyer and here one for the judges.
There's no particular limit to the number of microphones. And so with this system, no matter who is speaking, no matter where you are sitting, you can follow the proceedings of the court in any of the 4 court languages.
Oh.
His words go directly to the earphones of the interpreters. This gentleman interprets while Yodel is speaking into French. At the same time, this lady does it into Russian, and this lady into English. Their interpretations his words go directly to the earphones of the interpreters. This gentleman interprets while Yodel is speaking into French. At the same time, this lady does it into Russian, and this lady into English. Their interpretations can speak from any of the court microphones. One here is for the lawyers. And here are the ones for the judges.
Now, adjust them. Okay.
Fine, thank you.
Пожалуйста, отвечайте на мои вопросы, подсудимый. Это означает намерение. Это означает намерение отдела обороны изложить эти мысли на бумаге и провести эти идеи через определение норматива. Очень хорошо. Так, совещание, о котором вы говорите, было тем, что мы называем государственным совещанием, не так ли? Которое изложено в 386-м документе КР. Трибуналу хорошо известно это совещание. Вы помните совещание, не так ли? Вы читали это много раз здесь. Да.
Action.
Пожалуйста, отвечайте на мои вопросы, свидетель. Это означает план Л. Это означает план отдела обороны изложить эти мысли на бумаге. И
Action.
пожалуйста, отвечайте на мои вопросы, свидетель. Это означает план Л.
Das bedeutet die Absicht der Landesverteidigung Abteilung, diese Gedanken zu Papier zu bringen und dann diese Idee dann durch die Wehrmachtsteile zu verbreiten. Sehr wohl. Nun, diese Zusammenkunft, über die Sie sprachen, war, was hier die Rostock-Konferenz haben, nicht wahr?
Action.
That's right. The Wehrmacht did march in. That is a political question. It might have become the happiest country on earth. These questions did not concern me at all. And these questions should be put to the competent authorities. Very well. You said the population was pleased. Mais Keitel vous a raconté plus tard ce qui s'était passé. Avez-vous inscrit dans votre journal? Je parle de ce qui suit la citation précédente, à la page 133 du livre de documents numéro 7. La même page, pour la date du 11 février 1938. Je cite, « Dans la soirée, ou bien le 12 février, K, c'est-à-dire Keitel, va avec Reichenau et Sperle à l'Obersalzburg. Schuschnigg et Schmidt sont à nouveau soumis à la pression militaire la plus forte. » Fin de la citation. Est-ce que Keitel vous a mis au courant? Fort bien. Maintenant, en mars. Je crois que c'est l'un des faits courants, connus.
J'ai appris que le Führer avait décidé qu'il ne voulait pas qu'on en fît un martyr, mais il ne pouvait pas le libérer et il était obligé de le placer en détention d'honneur. C'est l'impression que j'ai eue pendant toute la durée de la guerre. Oui, en détention d'honneur. Je l'ignore. Ce ne sont pas là des questions.
Я стараюсь ставить вам простые вопросы. И я прошу, чтобы вы давали простые ответы. Меньше всего я хочу прервать вас. Сказали ли вам о том, что Гитлер сказал, что германский вопрос может быть окончательно разрешен только силой? И сказали ли вам о том, что Гитлер сказал, что германское вооружение фактически закончили? И, наконец, последний вопрос, который я вам задам. Сказали ли вам, что Гитлер заявил, что первыми целями в этой войне будут Австрия и Чехословакия? Очень хорошо. Благодарю вас. Итак, люди, подчиненные мне, были очень счастливы. И я могу это сказать вам. Нет, им не нужно было, после того, как я уже уехал,
Им не нужно было писать мне восторженных писем. Писем, которые я получал в течение всей войны. И причем от австрийцев, к которым я относился всегда очень сердечно. Я не знаю таких людей. Нет. Я никогда не видел Шушнинга. Я не знаю его, и он не знает меня.
Okay. Ja, das war einfach ein Perfekter.
Sehr wohl. Und dann im März, ich glaube, darüber sind wir uns einig, haben Sie unterschrieben oder paraphiert 1 oder 2 Befehle für den Fall Otto. Als Hitler hörte, dass Schuschnigg die Volksmeinung durch ein Volksbegehren feststellen wollte, dann hat er sich entschlossen, sofort einzufallen, nicht wahr? Ja. Er wollte nicht zulassen, dass die öffentliche Meinung festgestellt wird. What is it now?
Turn around.
Is it a vacuum cleaner or what is it?
Big guy.
I can't see you. My text wasn't very effective, but at least I didn't bang it.
You can go?
No, it takes a Stillleben. Just a moment, you take a Stillleben.
It was 1945. The war was over. Slowly, painfully, life came back to the ruins of Europe. The war was over, but there was no peace. Despair crouched over the continent. Hopelessness circled Europe like a bird of prey. Why? What were the forces? What were the issues in a war that turned nations into rubble heaps and populations into beggars? The people wanted the answers. They wanted to know what happened and why. In the Palace of Justice in Nuremberg, the people of the world came together. For there, at the International Military Tribunal to judge the chief Nazi war criminals. Justice Robert H. Jackson, the chief American prosecutor, makes the opening statement for the prosecution.
The privilege of opening the first trial in history.
The privilege of opening the first trial in history for crimes against the peace of the world imposes a grave responsibility. The wrongs which we seek to condemn and punish have been so calculated, so malignant, and so devastating that civilization cannot tolerate their being ignored because it cannot survive their being repeated. That four great nations, flushed with victory and stung with injury, stay the hand of vengeance and voluntarily submit their captive enemies to the judgment of the law is one of the most significant tributes that power has ever paid to reason. This inquest represents the practical effort of four of the most mighty of nations, with the support of 15 more, to utilize international law to meet the greatest menace of our times, aggressive war. The common sense of mankind demands that law shall not stop with the punishment of petty crimes by little people. It must also reach men who possess themselves of great power and who make deliberate and concerted use of it to set in motion evils which leave no home in the world untouched. In the prisoner's dock sit 20-odd broken men, reproached by the humiliation of those they have led, almost as bitterly as by the desolation of those they have attacked. Their personal capacity for evil is forever past. Merely as individuals, their fate is of little consequence to the world. What makes this inquest significant is that these prisoners represent sinister influences that will lurk in the world long after their bodies have returned to dust. They are living symbols of the arrogance and cruelty of power, of racial hatreds, of terrorism and violence. They are symbols of fierce nationalisms and of militarism, of intrigue and war-making, which have embroiled Europe generation after generation, crushing its manhood, destroying its homes, and impoverishing its life. They have so identified themselves with the philosophies they conceived and with the forces they directed that any tenderness to them is a victory and an encouragement to all the evils which are attached to their names. What these men stand for, we will patiently and temperately disclose. We will give you undeniable proof of incredible events. The catalogue of crimes will omit nothing. It may be that these men of troubled conscience do not regard a trial as a favor, but they do have a fair opportunity to defend themselves, a favor which they rarely extended to their fellow countrymen. We will not ask you to convict these men on the testimony of their foes. There is no count of the indictment that cannot be proved by books and records. And we will show you the defendants' own films. You will see their own conduct and hear their own voices as they reenact for you from the screen some of the events in the course of the conspiracy. The acts of the defendants have bathed the world in blood and set civilization back a century. They have subjected their European neighbors to every spoliation and deprivation. They have brought the German people to the lowest ebb of wretchedness. They have stirred hatreds and incited domestic violence on every continent. These are the things that stand in the dock shoulder to shoulder with these prisoners. The real complaining party at your bar is civilization.
United States of America present count 1 of the indictment, that all the defendants participated as organizers or accomplices in a common plan or conspiracy to commit crimes against peace, war crimes, and crimes against humanity.
The aims of this conspiracy were open and notorious.
The aims of this conspiracy were open and notorious. It was far different from any other conspiracy ever unfolded before a court of justice.
Pistol shots, and then wild firing. The heart leapt as old war experiences were relived.
Its history is the history of the Nazi Party, which grew from the brawling streets of Munich in the 20s. And from the beginning, Adolf Hitler and his followers were committed to the use of any means, whether or not they were legal or honorable. Their aim was the highest degree of control over the German community. Their intentions were blatantly put forth in Mein Kampf and the party program. And they preached their favorite doctrines up and down the land. They said that persons of a so-called German blood were a master race, entitled to subjugate or even exterminate other races. They said that the Germans should be ruled under the Führerprinzip, or leadership principle, by which each sub-leader owed unconditional obedience to his superior, and so on right up to Adolf Hitler. They said that war was a noble and necessary activity of Germany. And they said that the Nazi Party alone had the right to rule Germany and the right to destroy the party's enemies. Their rise to power was based on fraud, deceit, intimidation, and coercion, culminating finally in terror and flame. Into that flame went the democratic constitution of the Weimar Republic and the freedom of the German people. For the fires set by the Nazis extended to the very Reichstag. Hans Gesavius, a witness who formerly held a high position in the Berlin police administration, tells of his investigation of the Reichstag fire.
Es kurz zu sagen, zunächst den Tatbestand zu geben, haben wir festgestellt.
To speak briefly and to state the facts. First of all, we ascertained that quite generally, Hitler had stated the wish for a large-scale propaganda campaign. Goebbels took on the job of making the necessary proposals, and it was Goebbels who first thought of setting the Reichstag on fire. A group of 10 reliable SA men was made ready, and now Goering was informed about every detail of the plan. It was expected from Goering, and he gave his assurances that he would do so, that the police would be instructed, while still suffering from shock, to take up a false trail.
Using the Reichstag fire as a pretext for seizing power, the Nazi conspirators lost no time in tearing Germany away from a policy of peace. Late in 1933, they led their nation out of the disarmament conference, quit the League of Nations, and embarked on a course of secret rearmament. By 1934, the new armaments program designed by defendants Goering, Schacht, and Funk was going full blast. German industry was again turning out the tools of war. The Krupp plants hummed, and 1 year later, Goering could announce,
"From the strong foundation of the National Socialist ideology, today rises once again the German armed forces."
A few days later, General von Blomberg announced the new law for compulsory military service. The law was signed by defendants Goering, Hess, Frank, Frick, Schacht, and von Neurath. The training began. Finally, in spring of 1936, the Nazis sent their new troops marching into the Rhineland.
Mein Führer, on March 7th, 1936, soldiers of the army, which was created by order of the Führer, crossed the sacred river of German history and occupied their former garrisons. They pledged the Führer, whatever decisions he may make, unbreakable faith and obedience, and they vowed to follow him and to prove their sincerity by their never-ending love for Germany.
The columns grew longer. The sound of boots grew louder on the streets of Nuremberg. But Hitler said,
"The German people is not a people which welcomes a war today, tomorrow, or the day after tomorrow. That is not in the character of the German. He is by nature not only peaceful and peace-loving, but above all conciliatory. He wants to work. In our country are millions of peasants. They want to till their fields, they want to bring in their harvest. There are millions of workers. They want to perform their work.
But the Nazi conspirators, in the name of Lebensraum, continued to plot new aggressions against peace. In November 1937, Hitler called a special meeting with defendants Goering, von Neurath, and Raeder, and generals von Blomberg and von Fritsch. The meeting was secret, but Lieutenant Colonel Hossbach, Hitler's personal adjutant, faithfully recorded Hitler's words.
The German question can be solved only by way of force. For the improvement of our military political position, it must be our first aim, in every case of entanglement by war, to conquer Czechoslovakia and Austria simultaneously. The annexation of the two states to Germany, militarily and politically, would constitute a considerable relief.
This meeting set the stage for Nazi expansion, and Act I came only 3 months later at Berchtesgaden, where Defendant von Papen finally engineered a meeting between Schuschnigg, the Austrian Chancellor, and Hitler and Defendants Keitel and von Ribbentrop. Guido Schmidt, who was Austrian Foreign Minister at the time, also attended the meeting, and now he takes the witness stand. Did Hitler demand that Seyss-Inquart be made Minister of Security?
That was one of the demands on their program.
Were there also demands made with regard to currency exchange and customs?
There were demands of an economic nature of every kind.
Hitler told you that you had until February 15th to accept his terms, didn't he? And he told you that if you didn't do so, he would use force?
The ultimatum, as Hitler stated it, was that he intended, as early as February, to march into Austria, and that, for the last time, he was prepared to postpone it.
Faced by these threats, the Austrians carried out all Hitler's demands. But the Nazi conspirators weren't satisfied.
Four. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Between the languages. I can assure you that those difficulties will be promptly remedied, and you need have no fears as to the success of the operation from the standpoint of the mechanical equipment. There are three things involved, however. First, the perfection of the mechanical equipment. Second, the ability of the interpreters. And we have attempted to secure the very best interpreters available anywhere. All of them have not yet arrived, but with constant training and further selection will improve the job by them, I am sure. The scripts can be compared to determine the accuracy of the interpretation and also the accuracy of the reporting. The final criterion, however, is the electric sound recording, which can be played back with very little difficulty. Today, Colonel Doster is going to put on, for your edification, I hope, a little sketch in which he will furnish the judges and the speakers. That will take about 30 minutes. You may become accustomed to hearing on the...
So, without further ado, we will let the actors proceed with their play. The presiding judge speaks English, and he will be followed by the French prosecution. The Russian judge will then speak in his own language. The German defense will then intervene.
This court, the International Military Tribunal, founded upon the Charter of August 8, 1945, arrived at in London between the Republic of France, the United Kingdom, the United States of America, and the Union of Socialist Soviet Republics, is now in session. I now call upon...
Si, je cite textuellement, était traité avec un plus grand degré de sévérité que toutes les autres nationalités. Je désire apporter ici un témoignage écrit. C'est celui...
My colleague, Russian judge, wishes to interrupt.
Освещающий образ обращения немцев с советскими гражданами во свете мира.
Le juge soviétique va avoir dans un instant l'occasion d'interroger un témoin français qui a passé au camp à partir du 9 juillet 1943. Ici, je cite textuellement. J'ai vu le 15 août 1944, à midi, pendre dans le fond du camp 4 jeunes Russes.
Of
British parentage should be interned and treated as German civilians. Approximately 150 of these persons were interned in the notorious camp of Auschwitz. And at one period, a number of them succeeded in escaping from the camp in company with a small band of Russians. I propose later to lay before the court declarations showing that of the persons of the escapees who were Lord President, Your Honor, when I referred just now to testimony or declarations to be made by certain inmates of this notorious camp, I had in fact in mind
подвергались в концентрационных лагерях особенно жестоким преследованиям. Это совершенно понятно. Нацистские заговорщики стремились не только сломить военную мощь Советского Союза, но также к тому, чтобы уничтожить, возможно, большее число советских граждан. Я сейчас хочу представить трибуналу свидетеля, показания которого подтвердят то, что я только что сказал.
Par l'activité dans la résistance et envoyé au camp d'Auschwitz, où se trouvaient déjà de nombreux prisonniers russes. Les conditions d'existence dans le camp étaient des plus mauvaises. Nous étions mal logés dans des baraquements en bois, trop nombreux dans ces baraquements, et la nourriture était très mauvaise. Nous avions 2 fois par jour à attacher le prisonnier condamné à un poteau, les mains en l'air, pendant plusieurs heures, et quelquefois pendant des journées entières, sans aucune nourriture. Et j'ai vu plusieurs fois ces prisonniers dans cette position, après avoir été dépouillés de leurs vêtements.
Woher wissen Sie, Herr Zeuge, dass diese...
Was the danger of the situation discussed?
C'est la situation. Oui, Göring a dit que pendant ce temps, la situation était devenue très grave.
When did you then meet Göring?
Alors, je suis arrivé à Berlin le 24 et j'ai vu Göring à 14 heures.
What took place during your conference?
Er sagte mir, die Lage wäre sehr seriös geworden, und zwar aus dem Grunde,
dass zwischen Deutschland und Polen keine Einigung herbeigeführt worden sei. Er fragte, ob es nicht möglich wäre, dass ich nach London fahre, um die Lage in London klarzustellen.
Were you not to point out particularly there that Germany was ready to reach an understanding with England?
Jawohl. Göring erklärte, dass Deutschland den Wunsch hätte, sich mit England irgendwie zu einigen.
Then when did you leave for England?
Am nächsten Morgen, am 25. Es war ein Freitag.
Was this trip taken with the knowledge of Hitler?
Das kann ich nicht sagen.
On the 25th in the evening, with whom did you have a meeting there in London?
Es war vor dem Abend, schon am Nachmittag, um 6:30 Uhr mit Lord Halifax.
What did Lord Halifax tell you on this occasion?
При этой встрече. Меня информировали, что в тот же самый день Гендерсон видел Гитлера, и что Гендерсона ожидали в Лондоне завтра 6 числа, в субботу. Он выразил свою надежду, что с настоящего момента официальные каналы были открыты, и возможно был приход к определенному соглашению. Он поблагодарил меня за то, что было сделано, и сказал мне, что он не думает, что мое присутствие понадобится.
Did you not on the same evening carry on a long-distance telephone conversation with Göring?
Да.
Скажет, что он хочет работать вместе с
that he wants to work together with the people of Czechoslovakia,
и именно с народом,
and it is with the people,
не с министром иностранных дел,
not with the Minister of Foreign Affairs,
то вся заграничная
then
пропаганда
all the foreign propaganda
на голову
is
разбита.
going to be completely defeated.
Фюрер окончил
The
беседу,
Führer ended the
выразив
conversation
надежду на
and
хорошее
expressed his
будущее.
hope for a good future.
Запись подписана
The
Хегелем.
statement is signed by Hegel.
Сейчас
Now
уместно
it
будет
would be
вернуться к документу,
a good time to come back to the document that has already been mentioned here at the trial. I'm speaking about the so-called command document dated May 30th, 1938. That document has a number, OKV 42/38. It is also known as number 388PS. It was submitted to you by my esteemed colleagues from the U.S. delegation. The document was referred to by the Chief Prosecutor of the USSR in his introductory statement. As far as the content of the fascist coup against Czechoslovakia is concerned, Hitler says that it is his immobile decision to destroy Czechoslovakia by one military intervention in the near future. He breaks down that task into two parts, a political one, and I think have to be said now in two paragraphs. These are the two paragraphs that you, sir, and you, esteemed judges, will find on page 214, volume 1, part 1 in the document book. The Operation Green is going to be implemented by staging an incident in Czechoslovakia. That incident will give Germany a pretext for a military intervention. Determining the time of the incident, of the day and of the hour, is of paramount importance. It must happen during the weather conditions that are favorable for our superior aviation. The time of it should be determined in such a way that we know about it for sure on the midday of the X1 day. Then it may be possible to answer to that by releasing the Decree X on X1 day at 1400. The document ends as follows. That is page 215 in your document book. The goal of those statements is to instruct and indicate to what a significant degree the armed forces are interested in staging such an incident, and that they should know on time about Führer's intentions, because one way or another, it is the Abwehr that is going to set up the incident.